be able to take some time as individuals and get to know each other a little bit. Today I want to talk to you about the Power Strip. At the beginning of the year, Ron contacted me. Actually, I contacted Ron and I said, wow, I hear you're working on this new product. And I've been with Forever Green for 4 years at that time. And that's a whole different story, but I've been with Forever Green for 4 years, loved it. Great philosophy that we shared about quality of products, maintaining that quality, being committed to health, sharing an understanding that health starts with self-responsibility, and that good foods can maintain health and restore health. And that's a philosophy that we've maintained and shared from day one till now. But I contacted him about this, and I said, this is great stuff. What's going on here is what is exciting all the medical field. The pharmacologists that are trying to figure out what to do with this new technology are going crazy, and it's a very, very exciting time. I'm a medical doctor, but I'm also a researcher. I've done research at the university. I've done research with the National Institutes of Health. And so this technology is very common to me, and I was very excited to be a part of it. So I'm here to talk about that, but I'm also here to tell you that while we have this amazing product that we can make claims of relieving pain, all kinds of pain, there's also things that we can't say. And I'm here to talk about that too, because to be honest with you, there's a lot of information out there, and people are talking about all the amazing things that Power Strips do, but there are limits to what we can say, and I really want to leave that message clear with you guys today about what we can say, how we can say it, and at the same time share to the extent I can how amazing these products are. So could you go to the next one? And I put this first for a reason because I think it's so important. Ron touched on how important it is that we have this relationship with the FDA, that we can make claims for the first time, that we can say that we relieve pain as a listed Class 1 medical device. This is something that's very unique. In the reading I've done, in the investigations that I've done into products in this industry, I've never seen anything like this. And so it's a big deal, guys. It's a big deal. Just the fact that we can relieve pain is huge, and I'll touch on exactly what that means at the end of this, but it's important enough to understand that. But with this FDA relationship comes other responsibilities, and we'll talk about those. Let's go to the next. I'm going to talk about how Power Strips are constructed, what they're made of. It's a simple device, but it does amazing things. Power Strips have two main parts. They have the top, and if everyone's tried them, I hope they have. If not, see me at the end of this. The top is the part with the writing on it. It says love in many different languages, and it's a plant-based matrix. Could you go to the next slide? It's a plant-based matrix that's been designed to be biodegradable, but most importantly, to be gentle to the skin. On the medical side of things, in the medical side of the house, patches in general, almost exclusively, are designed from materials that are either petroleum-based, certainly synthetic. They're these huge polymers that have nothing in common with the human body, so when you put them on, they're rejected. And what that rejection shows up as is rash. You get these rashes when you have them. Think of it as a nicotine patch. You put them on on a daily basis, and you're trying to fight this horrible psychological disease of addiction, and they're causing these rashes. And the reason for that is because the materials that are used are synthetic. Well, from the very beginning, we understood that. and there was an effort made to create power strips with materials that didn't cause this problem, that allowed us to use them on a daily basis. And these were some of the goals that we had, that they would be gentle to the skin. Go back, please. Go back? Yeah, go back. That they would be gentle to the skin, that they would allow the skin to breathe, and that they'd be non-toxic. These were some of our objectives. In that top part, we're still talking about the top part of the power strip. In the top part of the power strip, there is, I've tried to represent with these little dots. I don't know how well I did, but evenly distributed throughout the top part of the power strips is germanium. It's fine particles of elemental germanium. It's not doped. People ask about that, whether it's a superconductor, or semiconductor rather, if it's been doped with other materials. It's pure elemental germanium. It sits in the top part of this power strip. It never touches the skin. It functions in one way. Before we get to that, let me tell you that I think we can all understand and accept that our bodies are hotter than the environment. And because they are, heat rises off our bodies. If you touch somebody next to you, they're warm. That's the heat that's coming off our bodies. If you put a power strip anywhere on the body, well, that heat is going to rise up through the power strip. It's going to go through the adhesive portion that's keeping it in place. And as it rises, it's going to hit all those particles of germanium that I described, all those fine particles of the germanium. Go ahead, next one, please. And when it hits that germanium, something very interesting happens. Germanium has optical properties, just like a lens has an optical property. You know, these lenses are designed with materials that are transparent to light, visual light. Well, germanium is transparent to far infrared energy, to infrared energy. In fact, if you look at the materials used for lenses for military grade nighttime vision, it's a germanium lens. They use germanium lenses to look for infrared signatures. That's the same case as with any medical device that uses infrared. Germanium is used as a receptor, as a lens for infrared, and has these optical properties. And we have taken advantage of these optical properties of germanium. As heat rises from the body, thermal energy rises up, strikes these fine particles of germanium, and refraction occurs. That heat energy is refracted down the electromagnetic spectrum, and it's returned largely as far infrared energy. So the question becomes, okay, great, heat goes up, the germanium refracts it into far infrared, and it reflects it back into the body. What does far infrared energy do? Okay, now this is where I need to tell you that we're beginning to draw a line. We are drawing a line. What I've said so far is what you can share about the power strips. You can talk about germanium. You can talk about heat. You can talk about heat being delivered to the body. But in terms of what I'm going to talk about now, I want you to understand, while this is true, this is all true, and it's based on peer-reviewed medical science. There are big bodies of medical literature available from the government, from different databases that substantiate everything, but we can't talk about them. That's part of of this balance we have with the FDA. Let me tell you what you can't say. Okay. Far infrared enters the body, and what does it do? When it gets there, it activates something called the nitric oxide pathway. And nitric oxide is produced in this fine layer of tissue that's in every vessel of the body. If you take all of this tissue that creates nitric oxide and you create a ball of it, it's the largest organ in the body. There's a tremendous amount of this tissue in the body that produces nitric oxide. Okay, so it's a lot of activity, has the potential to do a lot. But what does nitric oxide do? Let me tell you. There are immediate effects. Okay, you put a patch on, strip on, heat rises, it's refracted, it returns the body as far infrared energy, and the first thing that happens is you get these vessels beneath the strips that dilate, okay? Nitric oxide is produced, and these vessels dilate. So if you've got an injury there, you've got these dilated vessels, and more blood is getting to all these injured areas. And what's in the blood? Well, more oxygen is there. That's required for healing. Anything that's in the blood, any nutritional elements that are in the blood, they get delivered more effectively. So this, the immediate effect is dilation of vessels with delivery of more blood to the area, facilitating recovery from injury, or facilitating, yes?
Just a question on people who have pacemakers and are on Humidin. Does that affect them?
I'm happy to talk about that, and can you write that down, and we'll and I'll answer as many questions as you want, but I certainly have an answer for that. So you've got this extra blood flowing to the areas that need it for recovery, and that's the arterial side. But there's also dilation that happens on the venous side, on the side of the vascular system that carries away the wastes from metabolic energy, from metabolic processes. So as an injured area or an area that is unhealthy is beginning to recover because of all the blood that's being delivered to it, all the extra oxygen, all the nutrition, well, it's producing a higher metabolic rate. And with that, you get all this waste, the cellular waste. What happens to that cellular waste? It gets dumped into the venous side. But that venous side is also dilated, so it's all carried away more efficiently. So blood is being delivered there, healing is occurring, the metabolic waste is carried away more efficiently, and you get a detoxifying effect. That's just the immediate effect of nitric oxide. Can you go to the next one, please? We'll get into other aspects of nitric oxide. It's a powerful pathway, and it probably has the largest body of literature of anything in medical science right now. If you went and did a study, if you went and did a search on the internet of nitric oxide, you would get tens and tens of thousands of hits that talk about how nitric oxide is healthy for the body. But moving on. So we've talked about the top of the power strip and how it contains germanium, how that germanium works to produce far infrared. We've talked about how it's safe, how it's designed for long-term use. There's also another part. It's the lower part. It's the inside. It's on the inside of that top layer, and it's the adhesive layer. And that adhesive, sure, it keeps the strip adhered to the body so it doesn't fall off and can do its thing. But it also has a very important function, and that is that it's a delivery device. Okay? Now, again, this is something that is true and it occurs, but we've got to be very careful not to go around talking about this. And I'm here to tell you that in person. But as a delivery device, there are three things that are embedded in the adhesive layer, and I'll talk about each of them. The first is Korean red ginseng. You can go to the next one. And it's not just any Korean red ginseng that we use, it's a special one. This is typical of what Ron Williams and the executive team and the designers of all the products at Forever Ring do. They don't just take a Korean ginseng or an ingredient off the shelf. They find the best available ingredient to design everything that they make. And again, this is what took me from science and medicine with a love for nutrition to an association with this company. An uncompromising dedication to finding something special, to finding the best product. And this is an example. The Korean red ginseng that's in the power strips is prepared in a very special way. It's fermented. And fermented alone isn't necessarily special, but it's fermented in a very expensive way. It's fermented under very low oxygen tension. And what it ends up producing is a Korean red ginseng. there's the Korean red ginseng, because of the way that it's processed, is far more active. The molecules that function in it last longer, they're more effective. It's a special type. It's expensive, frankly, to make. Can you go to the next one? Here are some of the things that are reported directly from the medical literature. Every statement that I am going to make here, every statement that I have made is based on medical literature. And when I say that, that's all the experimentation going on in all the universities and all the pharmaceutical houses, in all the laboratories in the world. They do work. It's reviewed by peers and it's vetted. And if it's worth its weight, if it's acceptable to the strict peer review, then it's published. The information that makes it out is the stuff that I'm reporting. So this is legitimate. But again, because of the relationship we have with the FDA, careful about what you say and how you say it. I'd love to tell everybody that it improves cerebral function. It helps it in many different ways. It allows you to think clear. It allows you to incorporate memory, and it allows you to access memory. You ever talk to somebody and you go to tell them something, and you're like, oh man, what was that? What was that thing? Well, that's the ability to retrieve memory, and a lot of us suffer from that. Well, Korean red ginseng helps with that. It helps in many other ways. It helps with balance. It helps with equilibrium. Falls are a big deal as you get older. It helps with pain relief in many different ways, not just in a simple way. People talk about blocking pain, and it's nice to have